Are things between you and your man actually going somewhere, or are they going nowhere? Are you in a relationship right now, or does it just feel that way and you're actually in for a big, ugly surprise in your future? If you're ready to hear the shocking truth about relationships between men and women, say yes in the chat. Hello, my name's Matthew Coast, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the big difference between men and women when it comes to how a relationship progresses. And this is often very shocking to the women that I talk to about it. And so I wanted to do a video about it and make sure everybody was on the same page here so that you know exactly what's going on. So I had a client, and her name's Deb. And she spent 3 years with a man who she told me she thought was doing everything right. So she went and met his friends. She was pursuing her, or he was pursuing her. You know, he was initiating calls, texts, setting up, planning dates. He said romantic things to her. He took her on vacations. They were saying all kinds of loving things to each other. They had pet names for each other, all the friends and family stuff, all that stuff was happening. And so she thought, it's been 3 years. We've been doing this. We're in this amazing relationship together. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate. And then I told her this secret. Actually, she watched one of my videos where I talked about this secret that most women don't actually know about men. And when I first told her this, when she first saw me talk about this, she did not believe me. And so here's what the secret is. None of those things that I just talked about, meeting his friends and family, going on vacations together, him pursuing you, right? Him initiating things and planning the dates, taking you out on romantic evenings, living together, no matter how long you've been together, doesn't matter any of those things, right? None of those things mean that you're in or even moving towards a real relationship. So just let that sink in there for a moment, right? There's only one thing that means that you're in a real relationship. And it's this: you've talked about it. It's something that I call a relationship kickoff conversation. And if you haven't done that, if you haven't had that conversation yet, then none of those other things matter. And so we're going to talk about what she did here in just a second. But if you're here with us right now, say hi in the chat and tell us where in the world you're watching this from. It's cool to see women from, we have like 60, 70 countries of women watching these videos. It's great. It's really great. And so it is possible. I want to throw this out there, right? It is possible that if you haven't talked to a man about whether you're in a relationship or not, it is possible that in his mind, he thinks that you're in a relationship. However, you should never, ever assume that he does. You shouldn't assume that you're in a relationship. We get it all the time in our community where women are like, well, he did this, he said this, but he's acting like we're in a relationship. Does that mean we're in a relationship? The answer is no. And it's always no. You need to absolutely, every single time, you need to talk about it. So, and like I said, Deb, when she first heard me talk about this, she didn't believe me. And so she went, and I think it took like a week or two, but it was like bouncing around in her mind. Like, oh my God, is it true? Are we in a relationship? Are we not in a relationship? And so she decided to go and talk to him about it, right? Because she wanted to know if this is possible, if it was possible that she's not in a relationship with this man. And sure enough, when she asked him about it, when she started talking to him about it, here's what he said. He said, I told you from the beginning, I wasn't looking for anything serious. We're just having fun. This is after 3 years of being together. I mean, it can sound crazy. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, and he was just like, wow, that's pretty nuts. But it's one of those things with dating and relationships. You need clarity, right? Because a lot of times people have different expectations. They have different things that happen from their past. I know a lot of times women want to like crap on men for doing this or whatever. But we're going to talk about how Deb turned things around here in just a second. But usually with men, right, it's a little bit different. Men, generally speaking, have a little bit different way of looking at things. And with women, generally, it's like what we were just talking about earlier, right? You meet each other, you get to know each other, you pursue each other or whatever. You end up hooking up and you give each other pet names and you meet friends and family and you go on vacations, you move in together, and then possibly you end up getting married. And that's like the relationship progression that most women look at, right? They're like, oh, he's giving me pet names. We're moving forward. I met his friends and family. We're moving forward. But that's not how most men look at this. Most men, on the other hand, have two different categories. Sometimes there's three. There might even be four, depending on the way that you look at it. But I think the best way to look at it is that there are two different categories. And one category is kind of this dating category where you guys are doing all these things and you're not quite really committed to each other. There's kind of this process of getting to know each other and learning about each other and figuring out what it is that you want and are you right for each other and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a relationship, right? That's for men, right? This is the way that most men, in my experience, look at relationships. You're either dating or you're in a relationship. And it's kind of a switch. With most men, it's kind of a switch. When he decides that he wants to be in a relationship with you, he lets you know, he starts moving things forward. He wants to make it official and all that kind of stuff. And if he's not doing that, that's a concern, right? So most guys, like I said, when they decide, they go all in. And all of those things that we were talking about before, the pet names, the meeting friends and family, going on vacations, moving in together, all of those things, him giving you a key. Sometimes I hear about that from women. All of that can happen in either one of these categories. So if he feels like you're just dating, he can do all those things and still not feel like you're in a relationship. And if you're in a relationship, he can do all of those things and, it's just a normal, natural thing. And so if those things exist, if he's doing all those things in the progression, it doesn't mean that you're moving towards a relationship. That's the whole point that we're trying to get across here. If you get what I'm talking about right now, say, I get it in the chat. If you don't get what I'm talking about, we're going to go over everything here in just 1 minute, all the questions, whatever questions and stuff that you have, we're going to go over those. So if all those things that we just talked about aren't there, it should be a giant red flag for you. And what a red flag means is that it's something that you should pay a lot more attention to, right? So if a guy's not having you meet his friends and family, if he's not, wanting to take you on vacations that he's going on, if he's not, doing all those things that most women see as a man progressing the relationship, that should be a giant red flag for you. And what is going on here with this man? Is he not interested in a relationship, which hopefully you've talked about, because I talk about that a lot. But they've actually done studies on this. And what they found is that around the 6 to 8 month mark, most men, around 99% of men, it's almost completely unanimous, know what kind of a relationship that he wants to have with you at that point. So if he's been dating you for 6 to 8 months, almost every single man out there already knows what slot he's going to put you in. Are you relationship material? Are you just dating for the rest of your life? Are you going to be in get married and all that kind of stuff? There are some things that a guy might feel a little bit reserved about, right? If he's got past trauma, if he's got issues, if he's got, everybody in his family got married and divorced and it was really painful and everybody hates each other in this family, all that kind of stuff can make him reserved, right? He might be like, hey, I want to do this with you, but I'm scared, right? Or, maybe he's been following a bunch of red pill MGTOW blogs or something, and they've brainwashed his mind, right? All those things can make him reserved in whether he actually wants to move forward with a real relationship with you, specifically, especially marriage and things like that. And so what did Deb do? So what did Deb do after she found this out? How did she turn things around with her man? Well, she used something that I call the power phrase. And I talk about this in my programs that I teach. But basically what she did was she let him know in no uncertain terms. So she made it very clear to him that if he didn't step up, he was going to lose her forever. And after some thinking, he went away. He kind of pulled away after that for a little bit, because a lot of times men need some time to process things and think about things. And I have some friends, some mentors who are really, really successful business people. And one of the things that they do specifically is they have thinking time, right? Like this is how men work, right? He has like thinking time where he schedules it into his calendar when he's like, every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is thinking time. And I'm going to spend that time thinking about the challenges in my life and how to overcome them and all those kinds of things, right? So a lot of times men need time to process things and they need time to think about things. And so this is often what happens. Guys will end up pulling away and they will need to think about things. But after some thinking, he ended up coming back and deciding that she was the one and slapping that ring on her finger and being like, I want to be with you forever. You're the one for me and I don't want to lose you. So let's do this. I'm sorry for being such an idiot for 3 years, but let's do this, right? And so that's a very, very common thing to have happen. And so there are one thing that I'd like to talk about is there are some hidden signs, right? There's hidden signs. I've talked about this before. And if you want, you can go get my free resource about this, the 7 toxic men to avoid, or 7 signs of toxic men who's wrong for you and it's not going to change. You can go check that out at 7toxicsigns.com, and you can get it for free. And so let's go to some questions. What are your questions that you have about your situation and what's going on with you? So lots of people saying hi, hello, hello, hello. Yep, you're catching me live, Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. What questions do you have? And if you don't have that, go check that out. It's a great resource. Giving it away for free. Yep. Wow, there are people from all over the world here. Wow, Malta. I was there not too long. Well, I guess it was a couple years ago. All right. So question. F says, why do all that? What a waste of time. So why would a guy do all of those things? Is that what you're asking? I think that's what you're asking from me right now. Why would a guy do all those things? Because it's basically he's getting his needs met, right? So he's trying to get his needs met to the best of his ability, but he still wants to be comfortable, and you're letting him get all of his needs met without getting your needs met, right? So this is kind of a needs thing, right? So if you're like, hey, one of my needs is, or one of my desires is that I want to get married, I want to be valued, I want a man to treasure me and look at me and see me as this beautiful, amazing woman who deserves to have this awesome, amazing relationship that I want to have. And if you're coming from that standpoint, right? You have to make sure that there's clear communication in what's going on. Because a lot of guys, they don't have things that some women have, right? Like women have the biological clock thing. They look at time. Women look at time very, very differently. A lot of women, if they're in a dating situation, I hear this from women all the time, where they're dating a guy and they'll date a guy for a year or 2 years. And even if it was great during the relationship, if they end up breaking up because the guy was never serious or whatever, they're like, hey, I just wasted 1 year, 2 years or more of my life with this man. Whereas the guy usually is like, yeah, it was really great time. And, we really loved each other and it was time well spent, right? Because men and women just look at time a little bit differently around dating and being together. And for a lot of men, it's not their thing, right? Relationships aren't, generally speaking, especially for masculine men, it's not their thing, right? It's more of the feminine thing. It's more of the woman's thing to want that relationship and be in that relationship and look for marriage and stuff like that. And there's a whole bunch of, I know people are going to argue with me on that one, right? Because there are some studies out there that show men tend to actually benefit a lot more from relationships, but whatever. Yeah, guys will do it because they want all the benefits of being in a relationship without actually taking on the responsibilities of being in a relationship, right? Which might even look the same, right? It might not even be different, but it's that label. It's that label. Yep. Manipulations and misunderstandings. Yeah, a lot of times it's just straight misunderstandings. Katie says, I have a guy friend who will talk to me for a couple months, then cut me off and stop talking to me. And then when he starts talking to me again, pretend nothing is wrong. What should I do? Well, if he's just a friend, you should just, if you want him to still be a friend, just keep him as a friend, right? Like, it doesn't matter if he's just a friend. Like, I have friends that I won't talk to for a couple years, and as soon as we see each other, we're like high-fiving and hugging and stuff because we're friends, right? And it's okay to see each other as friends. If you're looking to date and be in a relationship with him, you need to think about the consistency there and whether he's doing what it is that you want. But it sounds to me like you're just talking about having a friend. So if you're not talking about dating or being in a relationship, it doesn't matter, right? Because he's just a friend. But if you're talking about dating in a relationship, you want consistency and you don't want to allow a man to just come in and leave whenever he wants. You need to have boundaries and you need to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. What means to you, like, what does it mean to you to be valued? To be valued in a relationship or valued by a man. And if what it means to you is that somebody stays in contact with you or communicates with you, you need to communicate that to the man, because a lot of men don't get that. They don't understand that. I ran into that when I dated a woman like 15 years ago where I was, at the time, I was a contractor. I was one of those military contractors that the scammer people are trying to pretend like they are. And I would go overseas and I would come back and it would be a month or 2 months or 3 months, something like that. And I remember I was dating this girl one time and I didn't talk to her while I was gone because I was off, doing contractor stuff. And when I got back, she was like, you think you could just talk, come in and talk, and I at the time I was like, is that not okay? Like I was like questioning it. I was like, wait a second, maybe that's not an okay thing for me to do. Cause I had no reference for it in my past. Cause I had never been in relationships where I was doing this before. And it, like, for me, it just made sense. I'm off, fighting Somali pirates and stuff, like I am like focused and concentrated on my work. And when I get home, then I can be focused and concentrated on her. And like, it just didn't even register to me that she would want constant communication. And so it's one of those things where some guys might have no idea that that's what you want. And so it's very important that you communicate what your standards are, communicate what your preferences are, communicate what it is that you want in a relationship. So I hope that helps you, Katie. I know you're just talking about a friendship here, but Maybe it could be more. Again, go check out my free resource. It's totally free. You can check it out. 7 toxic men to avoid, or 7 signs of a toxic man. Go to 7toxicsigns.com. Check it out. June says, any advice for dating when you first join college? Well, I mean, I have so much to talk about in terms of that. June, my suggestion is you go pick up a copy of this and you'll opt into my email list, and I'll send you emails about all kinds of different things that you'll want to know, because there's a lot of stuff that you'll want to know there, June. A lot of stuff. Lot of stuff. So Laura says, stop giving him importance in your life and find someone new. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's see. I love you too, Merity. Love you, May May. Love you too, May. Thanks for being here. Sing. May wants me to sing to her. I don't know. All right. Michelle says, how long do they need for thinking time? Well, it depends. Depends on whether he's a fast thinker or whether he's a slow thinker. Does he think well or does he not think well? How many distractions does he have in his life? How many bigger other priorities are there going on, right? Some guys might take a year to think, right? And the point is that you don't want to wait for him. The point is you do not want to wait for men. Don't wait for men. Time is the most precious resource that you have, Michelle. And so you don't want to be sitting around waiting on men, waiting for him to act right, waiting for him to start doing things that you want him to do, waiting for him to come back, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to wait for men. Instead, you want to be doing abundance dating, and you want to make sure that men are coming in and competing for your time and attention and love. And that way you're not waiting for them at all. And so he can go off and think for as long as he needs to go off and think. And when he comes back, you get to decide whether you let him into your life or you don't let him into your life, because you are the gatekeeper. You are the gatekeeper for someone to have your time, your attention, your body, your resources, your love, your investment, all of those things. And so if he wants to have you in those things, he needs to prove that he is worthy of you and your time and your attention and your love. So I hope that helps there, Michelle. I hope that helps. I hope that helps you. Letitia just became a new member, so thank you for that, Letitia. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family here. All right, so what else do we have? Ellen says, why do men lose interest after chasing you with passion? Well, there's a ton of different reasons why that might happen. He might, get distracted. His priorities might change. All kinds of things. And that's why you want to wait, right? There was some woman that she commented on one of my videos a couple weeks ago where she was like, your videos, Matt, have changed my life. It was just this one thing that I had to do. I stopped sleeping with guys on the second or third date, and all of a sudden, guys started looking at me as relationship material, and now, man, I have a whole bunch of different men like pursuing me. Like, stop sleeping with guys on the first couple of dates, and all of a sudden, you get to start seeing, what they're actually doing. How much consistency are they actually going to have? How much are they going to invest in you? Stop giving away your body and your time and your love and your affection and your commitment for change, right? That's what most women are doing. is guys come over with a little bit of change. They got like, $1.15 in their pocket, and they're like, hey, if I gave this to you, will you give me your love and your commitment and your body and, let me do whatever I want to? And they're like, oh yeah, come on in, right? Instead, you want to have a higher bar. You want to set a higher standard for what men actually get to be in your life. And you want to look for long-term consistency. That's like one of the most important things. But you don't get to see long-term consistency if you let a man love bomb you and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm in love. He's in love, so I can be in love, right? You don't get to see his consistency if you let his short-term tactics suck you in and derail you. You want to see long-term consistency from men. And so you need to stop giving yourself away for change and start raising your standard. Make the standard for him getting to be with you way higher, way higher. That's my suggestion. I hope that helps, Ellen. Amanda says, we just moved in together and he is more distant now. What do I do? Well, you have a conversation with him about it, right? If you are in a relationship, Amanda, which I don't know, right? Because like I was just talking about, a lot of women end up in a dating scenario with a man where they're living together. This happens all the time. They're living together and they're still just a dating scenario. If you're in a relationship, which, I pray that you are. I hope you're in a real committed relationship situation here, Amanda. If you're not, my suggestion is that you move out or you kick him out and you don't live with a man if you want a ring, my suggestion is you don't live with men without getting a ring on your finger. And so what you should do, let's just say that you're in a committed relationship, because I don't know. But let's say you are. What you should do is sit him down and have a real conversation with him. A lot of women are like, how do I, manipulate him and say this slick thing and send him this text message, or whatever. Just sit him down and have a conversation with him and just be like, hey, I love the time that we spend together and it's really great, but I feel like you've been kind of distant lately. Is there something that's going on with you or, what? And most guys will start talking about what's going on with them. And if he doesn't, then that's a big red flag, right? And like I said, hopefully you're in a committed relationship. Hopefully you are. Hopefully you are, Amanda. I'm hoping for you. Praying for you over here. Michelle says, how long do we wait? You mean after he pulls away? You don't wait. If he pulls away, you don't wait. You don't wait for him. You live your life. You live your best life, right? That's what you want to do. And so there are like normal time periods of people pulling away, right? Men and women both pull away. It's not just men that pull away. Women will pull away too. Some women don't want you to communicate with them more than like once or twice a week. They don't want to hang out with you more than once or twice a week. And so you have to realize that there's different blueprints that everybody has. It's something I call a communication blueprint, right? So everybody has a different blueprint for how much time they want to spend together, how much they want to communicate together. Some people are everyday communicators, right? They want to talk to their partner or the guy that they're seeing every single day. Some people are, a couple of times a week. Some people are once a week. And so you have to find out what it is with him. And that way you can know if there's some kind of like, if something's broken there, right? If there's something that's not right between the two of you. Otherwise, you're just sitting around and hoping and, praying that, he's coming back to you at some point. But that's why you should communicate this, and you should talk about this. You can talk about this on the first date or the second date or whatever, right? Just find out what his blueprint is for how much he wants to communicate, how much he wants to talk, how much he wants to see you, what he thinks is normal. That way, if he starts doing things outside of that normal scale, you realize what's going on there, and it's not some kind of shock to you. And if it is outside that normal scale, then you can say, okay, there is something wrong here. There's something weird going on. I can actually talk to him about it. There's nothing that beats real communication with somebody. Lots of people, men and women, they want to jump around things and, talk around stuff, especially women generally. Women tend to want to kind of look for clues and stuff. Just have straight conversations, straight, open, honest conversations with him. That is the best way to do it. Grace says, he is a toxic. How to exit gracefully? Well, just you can either sit him down, or you can call him over the phone, or you can text him. It depends on the situation, right? So there's kind of this big thing about ghosting out there, right? And everybody's like, oh, women specifically, men don't care as much about ghosting because we think it's normal behavior. But women are often offended by this whole ghosting thing. And so a lot of women feel like it's a problem if somebody ghosts somebody else. However, there are certain times when you want to ghost somebody. So if somebody is physically, emotionally, verbally abusive to you, it's okay. It's okay to just ghost them and not talk to them anymore. If you feel like having a conversation with him is going to suck you in to this kind of emotional abuse that you've been experiencing in the past, it's okay to just cut him off, block him, ghost him, and never talk to him again. That is when it is okay to ghost somebody, and that's across the board. And however, if that's not the case, and you just know that he's kind of like messed up, or he's like a wounded bird, or some of those other kinds of things, it's best to actually have a conversation with him and let him know that you've enjoyed the time you spent together, but that you're just growing in a different direction and you don't really feel it for him anymore, and you got to go, and it's over, and thank you very much, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore, so don't text me and I will block you, right? That's what you want to do. Have a conversation, let him know, get out of there quickly, and don't let him come back in. That's what you want to do. I hope that helps, Grace. Faithful says, what if you're married to someone who showed commitment in the beginning, but then decided they didn't want to anymore after 7 years and up and walked away emotionally and physically? Well, here's the deal, Leah, is if somebody's committed to something, you can do a lot of stuff, right? You can do all kinds of stuff and work all kinds of problems and issues out. You can make things work if you're both committed. If he's not committed, if he's like, hey, I'm done, it's over, there's nothing that's going to happen, you can ask him, like, if there's anything that would make him want to stay in the relationship. But if it's absolutely nothing, if he's like totally done, if he says that there's absolutely nothing that can keep him in the relationship, then there's not a whole lot that you can actually do about that, except for take care of yourself and make sure that you are loving yourself and that you're not beating yourself up, and that you're realizing that it's not your fault, and that you make sure that you're a part of our community and that you are getting the support that you need from friends and family and whoever you need support from. Because if somebody's totally given up, it's okay to fight for a relationship if the other person is fighting for it as well. It's not okay to fight for a relationship if you're the only one fighting for it. If you're fighting for it and he's running away, it's a losing battle for you, and it's only going to be painful for you. If he's open to things still happening and working things out, then there's a lot of things you can do. You can go to therapy, you can get a counselor, you can get a coach, you can get a whole bunch of things that can help you. But if the other person's like completely done, there's literally nothing you can do, right? Imagine being completely done with some guy, no matter how long it's been, and him constantly trying to work things out, right? You're going to be like, no, I'm done. I've experienced this. It's been painful for me. I'm not getting back into that situation ever again, right? So you can give them some time, right? Like you can give them some cooling off time. You can take some time to yourself, just leave them alone for a while, heal yourself, build yourself back up, change your patterns, right? That's what I talk about in my X-Back stuff, like the Restart Your Relationship program, is healing yourself, building yourself back up, putting yourself into the best situation possible, and then reaching out after a month or 2 months or 3 months and reconnecting with him and seeing if he's in a different place. Because sometimes guys just need some time to cool down, and sometimes they're totally done. And so it just really depends on your situation. I hope that helps, Leah. I know it sucks after 8 years. I mean, that's painful. It sucks, but what you want to do is you want to look at it and see what the lesson is to learn there. How is this going to help you grow? How is this going to help you become a stronger and better woman in the future, a better partner for your next relationship? Or if you guys do end up getting back together, how can this help you create a better relationship with him again? So those are the kinds of questions that you want to be asking yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't shame yourself or blame yourself or do any of that kind of stuff. Think about how this can help you grow and become a stronger and better woman for whatever is in your future. TechScal said, why these two categories? Is it limited thinking? No, it's just the way that men are kind of wired, right? You could think of it as a couple other ones, right? Like there's another category, which is like friend with benefits category. And then there's another category, which is like one night stand, but we don't really talk about that because if it's a one night stand, then you're never going to see them again after the first night. But there's kind of like this friend with benefits, but that, in my opinion, is the same thing as dating. Friend with benefits is the same thing as dating. You could also kind of have this like married kind of category that you want to have, but I kind of put that in the same category as relationship, because a lot of women just want committed relationships. They don't want marriage. But if you do want marriage, it's helpful to think of relationship and marriage as the same thing, and everything before that as just dating. It's just the way that men are wired, right? When they know they want something, it's on, right? And if they know that they don't want something, a lot of times they'll just drag it out for a long period of time. And it's up to you. It's up to you to make sure that you are putting yourself into the best situation that you can put yourself into. So it's don't let it be up to the man what kind of a situation and a relationship that you get into. Make sure that you take ownership of making sure that you get into the relationship that you've always wanted to have. And he gets to join you on this journey if he steps up and he shows you that he's the right man for you, and he proves to you that he's worthy of your time, your attention, your love, and your commitment. And so that's really what you want to do. I hope that helps, Text Girl. I totally went off on a rant there. Totally went off on a rant. Amanda says, hey, what do you do when you aren't dating long distance and he's going through a hard time? You are or you aren't dating long distance, Amanda? Tell us. You are or you aren't dating long distance. Brandy says, if you tell a man you have been talking to for a couple of months that you don't want to be intimate with him if he is intimate with other people and his only response is okay. So what does that mean? Brandy, you already know what that means, okay, right? But you don't want to believe what it is that means. And so there's two things that we were kind of talking about earlier, right? And one is this idea of a man saying that you're in a relationship. And before you have that conversation, that is, you're creating an agreement that you're in a relationship. Before you have that conversation, you're not in a relationship. That's kind of the point, right? Even if he's showing you with his actions that you're in a relationship, you're not. And so, but you want not only him to say it, but you also want him to show you, right, with his actions. So his words, if his words and his actions are out of alignment, always believe the worst of the two. And so if you talk to a man and you're like, hey, I don't really want to be intimate with you if you're going to be intimate with other people. And he's like, okay, right? You know, you already know what's going on. His thing is like, he's going to continue to waste your time, right? That's what he's saying to you right now. He's saying, Brandy, I'm going to waste your time as long as you will let me waste your time, right? That's what he's telling you right now. And so he's going to continue to drag this on, because if he was sure, if he was certain about this, if he was like, hey, I get it, and I just want to be, exclusive, I can be exclusive with you, he would say that. He would tell you that. He would bring that up. It'd be exciting to him. But since he's not, he's telling you that he's going to still potentially try to do things with you. He's either going to ghost you at this point, or he's going to continue to try to do things with you and hope you won't bring it up again, right? But my suggestion is that you do not get intimate with him without having that conversation again and making sure that he agrees to it. Do not. Ali says, I used your text to get him back after he pulled away, and we are dating again. Well, good job, Ali. Congratulations. Everybody say congratulations to Ali. Good job. Good job for using it, because a lot of women they'll get my program and they'll be like, oh, there's the text message, right? And they'll read it, or they'll hear it, right? They'll hear what the text message is, and they're like, there's no way, like, I can't tell you how many women they're like, there's no way that this is going to work. Right. And it's so funny. I was doing a seminar a couple months ago, and there was this woman in the seminar with me, and I was teaching about the text message that pulls a guy back in. And she was like, oh, I'm going to use that right now. Right. And so she sent the text message, and, within a couple hours, she was like, oh, let's see if he responded. And she was like, oh my God, he did, and she hadn't talked to him for 2 months or something like that. But congratulations. Good job, Ali. Good job for taking action. Because if you don't take action on this stuff, a lot of women just want to get the information, which is great, right? The more you listen to this, the more it'll become ingrained in you. And so I recommend that you listen to my program at least 10 times. That way the information really gets kind of embedded in your brain, and it programs your brain. But you also want to use it, because information, knowledge without action is basically useless, right? Knowledge is not power if you're not using the knowledge. It's just potential power. And so you want to use it. Alessandra says, we are dating for 3 years, LDR, been living for 2 months now, and he is saying that he wants not to be intimate. So you're living together for a couple months now, and he's saying that he doesn't want to be intimate with you. Well, you want to have a conversation with him about that, Alessandra. Find out what's going on with him and get clarity around it. Have a real conversation with him. Catherine says, men are the ones that have this problem. I just don't get it. Very sad. No, you are the one who has this problem, right? Because it's not a man's problem if he's in a dating scenario with you for 3 years and he's getting all of his needs met. It's your problem. And that's why you need to understand men and what men are thinking and not think that it's something that it's not, right? So you right now, and I totally get it, right? I get it. You're coming from your perspective and you're going, men should think this way as well. But if they don't think that way, they don't think that way, right? It's like men, there's a bunch of men out there that think women should just be more clear and more, this, more that, and all that kind of stuff. But that's not how women are, right? Women are different than men, and that's okay. And this is going to be a problem for you if you don't get clarity. And that's why it's important to get clarity, right? And so this isn't about, this is a man's problem. It's about, it's a challenge for you. This could potentially be your problem. And so you don't want it to be your problem. And if you don't want it to be your problem, you need to have clear communication with the man. There's no substitute for that. You can't just blame men for your problems, because then you're going to continue to have the problem, because you're not going to change men. We're not going to change men. You can only change yourself and change what it is that you're doing. And so if you want to make sure that you're in a relationship, make sure you communicate. And then it won't be a problem anymore, because you're communicating and you can focus on the other things that might be a problem for you in the relationship, right? Because men have lots of problems with women as well, right? Women do all kinds of things, right? Women are 3 times more likely to walk out of a relationship than a man is. Women ghost men far more than men ghost women. These are problems. And you could say, oh, women need to be fixed. But I can tell you, no matter how much I tell you that you shouldn't ghost a man, you're probably still going to ghost men. And it's okay, because that's what you do. And so, that's the culture in the world that we live in right now. And we can influence it a little bit if we want to, but it's the way that things are right now. And we have to accept that. And we have to accept reality, and then come from the acceptance of how reality is right now. And then say, okay, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my relationship to look like? How do I make sure that I'm protecting myself and getting myself into the best situation that I possibly can? And one of those ways is to get my 7 7 signs of a toxic man that's not going to change. Just go to 7toxicsigns.com. But I got to plug it. But thank you, Catherine, for being here and asking that question, or stating that opinion, I guess. Alicia says, why would a guy talk to a female for a year, then listen to people and stop talk to me? He end relationship with me. I was willing to work on it. Him, on another hand, didn't want work on it. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, but people are influenced by their friends. They're influenced by, right? Because guys want to feel proud. They want to feel like they're doing the right thing. And if he's got some people whispering in his ears things that are going to end the relationship, could end up ending the relationship. Not exactly sure what you're talking about here, Alicia, but I hope that helps. I hope that gives you something. Kit says, my question is, my husband got me nothing instead of giving me headache, and I think he loves seeing me suffer. What should I do? So my husband got me nothing instead of giving me headache, and I think he loves seeing me suffer for 21 years. I literally have no idea what you're talking about, Kit. But I think that you should maybe go into our community and talk about that, because I literally have no idea. I don't understand what you're saying. Sarah says, what do you do when you ask if you're in a relationship and they say yes and make a big deal about it? Why are certain steps not met? Like, I have been with my boyfriend a year, but haven't met his family. So Sarah, what you're experiencing right now is a red flag, a giant red flag, right? So if you're with a man for a year and he's not trying to have you meet his family, it's what we call a red flag. And what that means is that you need to pay more attention to that because there's something weird going on there. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's it's bad, right? So for instance, he might have a messed up family. His family might be a train wreck and he's embarrassed of them, right? Because there's people with messed up families. I'm one of them included. I have some messed up people in my family, man. Some people that I'm a little bit embarrassed of. I mean, I love them to death, but they are train wrecks. They're total train wrecks. And I have people in my family that if I introduce a woman that I'm in a relationship with to that person in my family, that person will start hitting on her, right? Like straight up in front of me, start talking about how sexy and I'd like to do all these things, right? And I have to take him outside and tell him I'm going to beat his face in if he doesn't shut up and get himself together, and that he's not welcome at our gatherings anymore because that's completely inappropriate behavior and disgusting to me, disrespectful to her, right? And so there's certain people that I will not introduce to anybody because they're part of my family, but they're a train wreck. And so that could be a scenario, right? That could be a scenario that he's in, but you don't know. You don't know. It could be that he's embarrassed of you, right? Because you're hopefully you're not a train wreck. But he might be, right? It might be that he doesn't if he shows you to his family, it means that he's serious and he's not serious. And so you want to talk to him about it because that's a red flag. A year in a relationship and you haven't met his family, he's not trying to have you meet his family, is a red flag. And you need to talk to him because if you're in a relationship, which I'm going to assume you're not just dating and you're actually in a relationship, you need to actually have real conversations like, hey, it's been a year. I haven't met your family. I'm just curious, what's going on there? Is it, are they all vampires or something? Are you scared they're going to, eat me alive? Are they, do they all belong to the circus and they're going to jump out of a closet with circus outfits on and dance around me or something? You want to find out what's going on, right? I'm just making up ridiculous scenarios here, but he'll start talking to you. And if he gets all weird about it, then what you need to do is start questioning whether you're actually in a relationship with him and whether he's actually serious about you, right? If he does these things, it doesn't mean you're heading towards a relationship. If he doesn't do these things, it's a red flag. So I hope that helps, Sarah. Make sure you go check out my 7 Toxic Signs at 7toxicsigns.com. It's very important. It's very important. Very important. Misty Hunter says, my ex confuses me. He's very hot and cold. 1 minute inviting me out and saying he misses me. The next, don't hear from him for 2 to 3 days. I'm open to trying again, but I need a clear show of effort. Yeah, I mean, you want to communicate with him. Is this what he did before when you guys were together? Right? So what you should be doing, Misty, and one of the things I talk about in my Restart Your Relationship program is this concept of abundance dating. And it's one of the things that women don't want to do, but it's one of the most important things that you can possibly do. Why? So abundance dating, what it means is that you date more than one guy at a time. And if a guy wants to be with you, he needs to show you that he wants to be with you. And you need to communicate what works for you and what doesn't work for you, right? Is this normal behavior though? You want to find out if this is normal behavior. Did he do this back when you were in a relationship with him? If he did do this when you're back in a relationship, it's probably normal. If he didn't, you want to just talk to him about it and find out what's going on. And, if he doesn't step up, that's fine, because he's going to end up losing you to a man who actually does step up and does give you the relationship that you want. You switch your mindset, right? If this guy's your ex, that means you're not in a relationship. He doesn't get your commitment. Don't be committed to a man who is not committed to you, right? That is rule number one. Never commit to a man who is not committed to you. This man is not committed to you yet, so you should not be committed to him. And being committed to him means that you're trying to make things work with a man, right? You're trying to make things work in a relationship. If he's not trying to make things work in the relationship, then he's not committed to you, and it's a one-sided commitment, and it's going to end in pain and heartbreak and all kinds of other stuff, which is why you need to lean back, start dating multiple people. And if he wants to prove himself worthy of you, Misty Hunter, then he will step up to the plate and show through his actions and his effort that he is that he's worthy of you. And you want to make sure that you let him know what it is that you want, what your standards are, right? If you have standards and expectations and he has no idea what those standards and expectations are, why would he start doing those things? I mean, I have no idea how long you guys were together before you broke up. I mean, it could be a few days or a couple of weeks or a couple of years or a decade. Who knows? I have no idea. But what you want to do is make sure that he knows what your standards are, what you're looking for, what's attractive to you, what's not attractive to you, right? What you want to find out, what's normal behavior for him and what's not normal. We talked about the communication blueprint before. Those are all important things to find out. That way you're not wasting your time. You're making sure that you get into the best situation that you can possibly get in. Catherine says, I get it, but it's very disappointing, and I feel so devaluing women overall. Yeah, and I totally get it, right? It sucks. It sucks to see the opposite sex thinking that they don't want the same thing that you want, or they're acting in a different way that makes you feel devalued, which is why it's so important to set standards, to set what it is, your preferences, the things that it is that you want, and let men know, and make sure that you're communicating and you get clear communication, and that you let men prove to you that they are the right man for you, and why it's so important for abundance dating. A lot of women don't do it because they just want to date. They just want one guy at a time. But, to get the right guy, it can take a lot, going through a bunch of different men, meeting a bunch of different men, and finding out that, pretty generally speaking, with anything, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 is usually better than the rest. So if you date 10 guys, one of them is probably going to be better than the other 9 that you went on dates with. But if you're dating one guy for 3 months at a time, or 6 months or a year at a time before you go and meet the next guy, it's going to take a really long time for you to get that 1 out of 9, right? Or 1 out of 20, or whatever it is that you're looking for. And so you want to do abundance dating so that you're not stuck with one guy trying to make him do what it is that you want when it's not right. And you want to feel valued, you want to feel cherished, you want to feel like you're like the guy that you're with thinks that you're special and treats you the way that you want to be treated and communicates the way that you want to be communicated with. And sometimes it takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of talking to him. It takes a little bit of training him and getting him to know that you're different than all the other women that he's met out there. You're different than, what he's trying to set up, right? Because when you meet two people, you have realities. You have two different realities. One is your reality and one is his reality. And the two of those collide. And whoever has the stronger reality ends up winning. And so you want to communicate your reality, and you want to have a strong, stable reality so that your reality ends up winning to the extent that you want it to win. And once that happens, then it'll be a lot easier to get into the relationship that you want, because men know what your expectations are. They know what your standards are. They know what you want from them. They know how you want them to behave in order to get access to you. You have clear, you've talked to each other about what's going on, so there's no mistake about it. He's put energy and effort and all these different things in so that he's highly invested. And so when you're like, hey, this whole thing where you think that you're going to date me for 3 to 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever and never be in a relationship with me, that's not going to work for me. I am worth more than that, right? When you start communicating those things and he's already invested, he's going to be scared to lose you, and he's not going to want to lose you. And he's going to want to do what happened with Deb that we talked about earlier, where he ends up stepping up and saying, you're right, I don't want to lose you. I want to be with you. I want to just be with you and only you. And I don't want any other women. I want to give you what it is that you want to have, because I value you and I cherish you. And I think that you're an amazing, wonderful woman. And I never want to let you go. And I'll do anything to be with you. And that's really the situation that you want to be in. So just take a deep breath with me. If you're with me here right now, just take a deep breath. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just let out any tension, any stress, anything that's in your body. Take another deep breath in and just release any tension or stress that you have in your body right now. And let's just say the Queen's mantra real quick. I am worthy. I am valuable. I am worthy. I deserve to be cherished. I am valuable. I am worthy. I deserve to be cherished. I am valuable. I am worthy. I deserve to be cherished. That's the Queen's mantra. Remember, every time we say it, you say it 3 times. 3 times. Get it in your soul. Get it in who you are. I am valuable. I am worthy. I deserve to be cherished. And you are. You are valuable. You are worthy. And you do deserve to be cherished. And make sure that you remember that. And make sure that you aren't allowing yourself to get into a situation that doesn't serve you. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I'll speak with you again soon. And always remember, you are worth it. Have a great day, great night, good evening, and I will